In this new episode, we will go out into the streets with the bravest police officers in the United States who face some of the most repugnant criminals every day. This includes dangerous pedophiles willing to do anything to avoid being caught. That is why we propose to analyze 3 cases where deadly force had to be used to restore peace to the communities that were affected by these pedophiles. Let's start with another impressive episode of military might. Sexual predators are a plague that has invaded social networks, waiting for the right situation and moment to attack defenseless children. Fortunately, justice has managed to adapt to technology, using special units to hunt them down. The first case occurred in a hotel room located in Seattle, one of the main cities in the state of Washington. A 67-year-old man was summoned to that place who was expecting to meet 2 girls, ages 7 and 11. The man met them on the internet and had arranged to meet there, but it was all part of a secret operation to catch pedophiles. It was 3:13 p.m. when the criminal arrived at the DoubleTree Hotel, a cheap establishment full of humble families and travelers. His evil intentions were thwarted because behind the door, a special squad of the Washington police was waiting. Half a dozen officers from the Virtual Crimes Against Children Task Force responded to his call. The man immediately knew it was an ambush operation, so he drew his gun. Below, we will reproduce the material as it was recorded by the uniformed officers' body cameras. It is a chaotic and shocking file. Given the corresponding warnings, let's continue.
Hey, Officer Thomas, Seattle. Gun. Shots fired, suspect down. Help the officer.
It all happened in a few moments. The moment the sexual aggressor saw the officers, he tried to defend himself with a firearm that he was carrying inside his clothes. He knew very well that his presence in that hotel was irrefutable proof of his internet practices. As if that were not enough, he was going to meet 2 girls carrying a 9mm platform. The reaction of the uniformed officers was fast and lethal. They emptied their service pistols on the criminal, shooting him down at the door of the room. It was the end of a threat to all the children of the state. The aggressor was declared dead on the spot, but before dying, he managed to wound one of the uniformed officers present in the leg. Let's see the action again, this time from the perspective of the officer who received the impact on his limb.
Hey, Officer Thomas, Seattle. Gun. Shots fired, suspect down. Help the officer.
These cases may involve the production, distribution, or possession of material used to sexually exploit children. Unfortunately, these types of crimes are becoming more frequent. Social media has become the jackal's lair, being the space of operations for perverts like the one killed during this operation. According to what was reported by Sheriff Adrian Diaz, attacks and offenses against children in the state of Washington rose 67% from 2022 to 2023, and this nefarious trend is expected to continue. Online harassment and child abuse is on the rise, according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or NCMEC. It is estimated that in 2023, a total of 36 million reports of crimes related to this dark business were received across the planet. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. The vast majority of crimes go unpunished. The worrying thing is that the United States is one of the countries with the highest pedophile activity, and that is why the police forces have taken direct action in the matter. The only way to counteract this growth is to prepare officers to carry out operations where they can deceive and ambush criminals. Like the aggressor in this case, many of these perverts are usually armed, determined to die in a shootout rather than face justice. This presents a tremendous danger to the uniformed officers, but it is a risk they must take for the good of the community. Eric Vermeister, VV. I was running. I saw someone shooting a firearm. There was a rapid succession of shots. Fortunately, they were aiming away from my room. Otherwise, it would have been much worse. Police officers are not only in charge of special operations to ambush internet criminals, they also have to respond to reports of domestic violence, one of the most endemic and frequent crimes in the United States. While these reports seem almost routine, you cannot imagine the level of violence that was experienced in the following case. It all began with a 911 call made on the night of February 13, 2020.
So your stepdad is trying to kill her?
Yes,
Okay, what happened? Was there an argument?
yes. There was an argument. The police were called. I think they just talked to them, and now he's going crazy.
Okay, so we were just there, and now he's going crazy?
Yes, I think so.
A young woman from Reno, Nevada reported to the sheriff's office that her mother was in mortal danger. According to her, it was her stepfather, her mother's partner, who was threatening to commit femicide. Her broken voice and the fear in her words reflect the level of tension she was under. The attacker in question was ABUS3, who had been involved in a very strong argument with his wife. The fight was triggered by the suspicion of sexual abuse of the woman's youngest daughter, a girl of just 7 years old. The child had reported the attack to her mother and had also told her elementary school teacher, who immediately contacted the authorities. Unfortunately, the police did not act correctly and took too long to go to the home, which gave ABUS3 time to flee, taking his own wife and daughter hostage, putting both of their lives at risk. Following the call we reproduced a few moments ago, the agents went in search of the suspect, having information about his workplace, the last places where he was seen, and the vehicle he used, a red pickup truck.
I'm going to take the driver's side.
Okay.
What we are seeing is material recorded by the body camera of one of the agents involved in the operation. First, they searched the car to see if there were any firearm magazines or any clues that could indicate what they were about to face. Finally, after a night of investigation against the clock, the officers found a clue about Lopez's possible hiding place. They went to 565 Sparks Boulevard in the Park Vista apartment building. Behind door number 197 was their target, and it was necessary to act quickly and decisively to avoid the death of the hostage and her little girl. Now, let's see firsthand how that violent entry was carried out.
Police! Soldier! Get on the ground! Oh shit! Push! Push! Find the girl! Find the girl! Get her out!
Right here, I didn't have nothing.
Let's go! Shots fired! Shots fired! One down! Get her out! Get her out! Get her out! Go! Take her out! Take her out! Go!
At around 8:55 p.m., an officer named Beauford tried to knock on the door announcing that he was a representative of the local sheriff's department. The entrance did not go as the officers expected. Suddenly, the violence led to a point-blank shooting in the confined space of the apartment. ABUS3 did not obey the orders given by the officers and tried to use a revolver that he was hiding under his clothes. Faced with the imminent risk, the officers acted with lethality. The man was shot, and the woman, the alleged victim of this criminal, was immediately removed from the premises. At the same time, the police team searched the apartment in search of the 7-year-old girl, fearing that she might be tied up. The material revealed by the state of Nevada does not show the moment in which the infant was found, but it is reported that she was in good health and that she was given medical and psychological attention. District prosecutors determined that the police team's actions were within the framework of the law and fully complied with standard procedure. The violence was unleashed by the criminal's disobedience, and his overthrow was absolutely necessary to end the situation. Thus, the officers involved were congratulated for their participation in rescuing a woman and her 7-year-old daughter. It is in this type of confrontations in confined spaces and with highly destructive firearms that precision and effectiveness are a determining factor in order not to harm innocent people. The last case we will analyze on this occasion occurred in the town of Vernon, in the city of Wichita, located in the state of Kansas. On this occasion, the confrontation did not take place within the confines of a home, but on the streets of a residential area inhabited by hundreds of people. Let's put things in perspective. On April 27, 2019, a police officer from the Vernon Police Station was sent to arrest a sexual criminal with a worrying record. This was Walter Emilio Orellana, 23 years old, a young Honduran who was prosecuted for repeatedly attacking a minor. That grotesque crime had gone temporarily unpunished since the attacker had paid his bail. However, his days at liberty were over. Next, we will see the images captured by the body camera of the officer who contacted Orellana inside a vehicle parked in front of his home.
How you doing? What's your name?
Mark?
Walter?
Mark?
Your name is not Walter?
Why?
Because that's your name?
But why though?
Okay, step out of the car.
The first notable detail is that the Honduran tried in vain to lie about his identity. He claimed to be called Mark, but when the officer insisted that his real name was Walter, the young man became nervous. The officer immediately detected the sexual aggressor's defensive attitude, a clear sign that the suspect was capable of resisting arrest. Keep in mind that these situations are really stressful for police officers. They must evaluate their ability to react, the weaponry used by the offender, and the number of civilians in the vicinity. In this case, Orellana lived in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Vernon. Although there were no bystanders on the streets, a spontaneous shootout always puts innocent people in danger. Unfortunately, violence was as imminent as it was inevitable.
Out of the car. Step out of the car.
In the video captured by the body camera, it is difficult to distinguish it, but subsequent investigations confirmed that Orellana took out a sawed-off shotgun from inside the vehicle. The criminal managed to fire the weapon, superficially wounding the police officer. The uniformed man managed to back away and draw his pistol, which activated a recording device that the regulatory platforms carry, adding another perspective to the audio-visual records of this confrontation. The level of violence and the number of shots fired are impressive. Although Orellana remained inside the car, he managed to fire some shots with his shotgun. On the part of the uniformed man, he was able to land several hits on the criminal's body. The problem is that he had to control the situation completely if he wanted to avoid civilians getting hurt by being caught in the crossfire. Let's see how this duel continued in broad daylight.
Dude. Go back that way, sir. Go back that way.
While seeking refuge in a nearby house, the police officer came across an elderly man who had just left his home. The elderly man was unaware of the danger he was in, so the officer ordered him to go back into his home. These are the kinds of details that officers must deal with when faced with a threat on the public highway, especially in densely populated areas. After circling Orellana's vehicle through the neighbor's gardens, the officer decided it was appropriate to approach the attacker to arrest him. At that moment, other patrol officers had already arrived to provide support to their partner. Surprisingly, despite the precise impacts of the police officer, the Honduran pedophile was still alive and perfectly conscious. We warn you that the images that we will see below are very graphic, even though they are censored.
Both of your hands up! Coming to your crossfire! I'm coming to your crossfire! You keep those motherfuckers up or I'm gonna pop you!
The interior of the shot-up vehicle was covered in the driver's blood. Once the situation was under control and the sawed-off shotgun was removed from his hands, Orellana was rushed to a high-complexity hospital. There, he received treatment from the best doctors in the state. Despite the injuries he received, specialists were able to stabilize the criminal, who was transferred to the Wichita jail a few days later. Vernon Sheriff David Duke told the media that the criminal would be prosecuted for the shootout with the police officer, which was added to the charges he already had in his gruesome history. As we anticipated, Orellana was a known and dangerous sexual aggressor. In January 2016, a minor reported him for repeatedly attacking her during the subject's stay with the victim's mother. In total, it was 18 hellish months during which the 9-year-old girl endured the sexual assaults of this pedophile. At that time, justice acted in a rather inefficient manner. Orellana was temporarily imprisoned, however. Despite the seriousness of his crimes, he was released after paying a bail of $500,000. The authorities defended themselves by stating that after 90 days, the judicial process had not begun. Despite this gross error of justice, the Honduran had charges for improper conduct, improper contact with a minor, and other causes that should result in a long sentence behind bars. In this case, it is necessary to note the failures committed by the authorities, which led to this confrontation between Orellana and the police officer. The Honduran is currently serving a 40-year sentence as a result of the combination of his sexual assaults and the shooting he carried out that afternoon in 2019, which turned the community of Vernon into a war zone. Before closing this case, it is worth recovering an exchange of words between the pedophile and the police officer.
But it's locked up.
My legs are broke, man. My legs are broke. I hurt like a motherfucker. Oh, yeah, you lucky I didn't put one in your fucking head. You did, man.
No, you didn't. Oh, they didn't want to.
Sexual offenders are among the most dangerous and hated criminals by society and security forces. They are specialists in gaining the trust of families, and in particular, children, causing irreparable damage in the communities where they operate. The 3 pedophiles we met throughout this video tried to resist arrest with firearms. They know that prison is a true hell for those criminals who are arrested for sexually attacking minors. Only Orellana survived the confrontations to face justice and serve his sentence. It is up to you to judge whether death is a fair punishment for these aberrant crimes, or whether a long stay behind bars is appropriate. Leave us your opinion in the comments box. This way, we come to the end of the video. If you liked this content, in which we review the risky activities of the American police, we invite you to subscribe and activate notifications for our channel. Without further ado, we say goodbye until the next installment of Military Might. Thank you for joining us.